go.
There we go. We're back. We're
Yes,
back.
yes, I. Blessings, brother. So great to see you. Thank you for joining me. Been
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's been awesome to see you in all these lives. You've been having conversations with Tom, with Shayna Dean, with Nabiha, with all sorts of folks. Like, I just enjoy seeing it, you know? I enjoy seeing it, man.
beautiful. I'm glad. I'm glad it's uh, inspiring or beneficial for you. I I'm just doing it for me, man. I just really need to be connected with my pranic family, and it's how the journey is. It's kind of lonely,
Mm.
you know. Gotta do things that the people around you aren't doing, the people that you know and love, oftentimes, and so just great to be in support and connection with
Mhm.
my sangha, my light sangha. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. When you say you're just doing it for you, what do you feel like it gives you most? What do you feel you extract from it? Like, what's the juice you get back from it?
um it's kind of this thing I was talking about with Nabiha the other day of uh we were talking about how just in life it's important to have time to yourself but also to be in community,
Mhm.
you know and like you kind of it's like a validation, it's kind of like a check, or iron sharpens iron. you
Mhm.
know you, you get together with other people who have the same motivations and same interests, and it's supportive, you know of that process. It makes you not feel like a freakazoid, I guess. That's kind of what it is.
You remember that
oh,
cartoon?
oh yeah.
Freakazoid. You just took me all the way back. You took me back, Jesse.
Awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's nourishing just to be in connection with family and to explore the experiences and the concepts around Breatharian science and the motivations. That's really what's kind of recrystallized for me, because it's just interesting. You get going down a certain path. It could be anything. It could be, the Breatharian path, or being a musician or something. And it's kind of easy to get lost in the sauce a little
Yeah.
bit, you know. And uh, remembering that my original motivation stems from my Buddhist vow of, like, I want to be of benefit to all beings,
Mhm.
you know. So sharing it is another mode, to do that. So
Yeah, they say sharing is caring for those who are daring, right?
I I love that you always speak in rhymes, because it reminds me of one of my Buddhist heroes, Milarepa.
Mm.
Everything he said was a song and in poetry.
Hmm.
He taught the Dharma in poetry just like you do.
Well, we each have a song within us, you know.
Mhm,
It's
mhm,
like you have that song within you the more you continue, you know.
mhm, mhm.
So I love that we can make the choice to use our voice in that way and just put out a positive energy on our platform, especially today, especially right now. I feel like, as you were saying, when you said breatharian science, some people they don't often see those two words together. So when you have the word breatharian and the word science right next to each other, what do you feel like gives them meaning when they're in harmony in that way?
Well, it's kind of like Tom says, it's bringing the spirituality down into the concrete and the real, you know,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
and and, and being able to check it with, more and more science is coming out around these things. It's interesting to me, getting started on this path, 12 years ago or something, started, sun gazing and grounding and meditating and lightening up my diet with raw foods and all that kind of thing, and fasting. And, like, I was just drawn to all of it and had come upon it through, I'd heard about Breatharianism. It really piqued my interest. I think those of us that are called to this lifestyle, like you hear about it and it just like there's something about it that just lights you
Mhm.
up, and you just get really, excited about that thought. And so I just started chasing it, and everybody, I remember the first time I was sun gazing in public, and people were looking at me and just like, what is that guy doing? And someone came and asked me, like, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm looking at the sun. They're like, isn't that dangerous? And all this stuff. And now there's all this science that's come out about the importance of getting out and getting morning light, the health benefits of grounding, the health benefits of fasting, the health benefit of meditation. And there's a whole new arm of science that's growing called quantum biology, where
Mm.
where they're studying the ways in which it's really electricity that keeps us healthy,
Mm.
and that even some of the things like the antioxidants in the terms of vitamins, vitamin C and vitamin E, how they're not as good at healing free radical damage as electrons,
Mm.
as actual, you know, the negative ions and stuff you gather from the air or from the earth, and because it's just the way that electron transport chain works. It's like it's too big a molecule.
Mhm.
Um, or things like the exclusion zone water, the water in your body that's like a liquid crystal
Mm.
jelly that has a positive charge on one side and a negative charge on the other. Or like, acidity and alkalinity. There's this whole thing of the body electric and the electric universe that Walter Russell and various other, um, uh, scientists, Tesla, were studying, a long time ago, but we're just starting to catch up with it now.
Mhm.
So, so this is a science. It's not like you, how it is, but just, for the community out there, it's like, um, it's not just a fantastical imagining.
Mm.
It's actually just training your body to live. You're still consuming energy, but your energy is just the energy that's all around you and within you. You know, it's more efficient and it's more simplistic.
Right. Right. Less complex, more simple. I like this because, you said the electricity is actually what keeps us healthy. It's the electricity.
Yeah.
That's back to simplicity, the electricity. That's synchronicity, right? Yeah.
Yes, indeed. I mean, and that's kind of the thing of it. You mentioned the song, and you mentioned the synchronicity of like everything in divine timing and order. Everything
Mhm.
we uh, just like you know a jam, where the musicians come in at the right places and it layers up and like creates a really great song. I
Mhm.
think that's kind of what's happening collectively. I think we're moving back into the light,
Mm.
moving back towards the galactic center, and it's waking up our DNA. The Schumann resonance is changing. The science is starting to grow. Pretty soon this will be, sort of one of those thoughts of like, of course, everyone's a breatharian, but uh,
And that's what your video was titled with Shayna Dean. It said, "Everyone's a breatharian." You know,
yeah.
that's the message. Yeah.
And that's what I want to make it. I want to make it accessible to everyone and understand, that this is about simplicity and it's something natural
Mm.
to all of us, and but it does come with a certain motivation, a motivation of loving kindness to yourself and to others, you know,
Mhm.
that you seek to develop, and then the rest just takes you there, sort of, you know.
I agree. It reminds me when you were talking about electricity, just that word electric, and then you take that word L, it reminds me of like Elitom because I mean his name, what is the etymology of L? Because
Mhm.
you see things like Elohim and Elitom and Elamine and electric and all of the L. Do you know a lot about that word? What is
A
that?
little bit, it's like the word Israel,
Okay.
right,
Yeah.
is a combination of Isis, Ra, and El.
Yeah.
So El is the electric component, and Ra is the radiative component. So
Mm-hmm.
there's magnetism and there's electricity, you know, and um, you know, this uh, this thing with L, you know, there's also words like real, which is once again Ra and L,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the the magnetic and the electric principle. So
Yeah.
so the ancients knew this, and this is encoded in language, you know. Um, I think Isis has to do something with electricity too, if I remember. You know, it's got that sound like, you know, like a snake, but also like the sizzle of
Mm-hmm.
electricity. You know, um, but Walter Russell really went into a lot of this thing of like, um, I think he even sort of like uh, negates the nuclear forces. That really they're just other aspects of the radiative or magnetic and electric component of
Mm-hmm.
reality. You know, um, so it's it's something that's super deep. I used to study it a lot more. You may know of Santos Bonacci, um, but he's this guy. He's really awesome. He was like a Jehovah's Witness, and then he just felt like things weren't stacking up, and he went into a very deep study for years and years and studied, you know, astrology, primarily an ancient science. Um, talks about stuff like we have in the Christian philosophy the whole thing of you know
Mm-hmm.
Adam, being the first man, but he says it's atom, Atom,
Mm-hmm.
and that the ancients had knowledge of like quantum physics essentially and beyond, you know, and that there's this um, uh, it ties in with sacred geometry. It
Okay.
ties in with the cycles of the cosmos as well as the cycles of our bodies and our
Mm-hmm.
lives, and it's super profound. I really haven't thought about it much for about 10
Yeah.
years because when it hit me it was like this, like wow, like
Yeah,
blood.
it sounds very expanding, like mind blowing. It can be very, for some it can be confusing, but for others it can be consoling, like a consolation of, of information and accumulation of information. But it's also kind of like like a salvation, like yes, finally, you raise your vibration, you're like, yes, you have that elation, and that causes less frustration, you know?
Yes.
So we have Alexis that said Santos is amazing, very intelligent man. So she knows about Santos Bonacci, who you were talking about. And when you were talking about, 10 years ago, Jesse, where you're going into these deep studies, like you might be reading, the Hermetica or, different principles, different laws, or different scriptures, or the Tao Te Ching, or, all of these things. Whenever you were going into a deep study, what was so fascinating to you, and what consoled you, what gave you consolation through all of that information?
That's like a really good question. It's something that has always just really appealed to me, sort of consciousness exploration and occult wisdom, like the hidden meaning and hidden truth, because I just want to get to a understanding of this reality, and how to navigate within it and how to be as skillful as
Yeah.
possible within this reality so that I can create as much benefit for my life, but the lives around me as well. Like, and some of these deeper cosmic principles, you know, these are sort of universal principles are fundamental, for all of humanity and all of creation. And this, you know, most of all, it leads to this. What thrilled me is leading to this feeling of, you know, connection with
Mm.
everything and everyone, that this, there's really only one of us here, that all is one, you know, and one is all. And if you are doing something that's beneficial for yourself, you're actually benefiting the all. But if you're doing something for someone else, you're also just benefiting the all. You
Mm.
know? And to move into those modes, you kind of have to have a knowledge base that helps you see the connections and understand them, so that you can connect in with that reality and live from that
Okay.
place. You know.
Okay. So what was one of the concepts that was the most one of the most challenging for you to understand, or for you to like for you to conceptualize, you know, for you to really just like, wow, like I'm trying to figure this out. Like it kind of makes sense, but it doesn't really. What was one of the most challenging things for you to just really internally ingrain within the brain?
Well, you know, I mean, uh, it really all was just really fun, and it was a natural,
Mhm.
you know, evolution of thought and knowledge and experience, like all tied together. And it was just, to me, it was like the juiciest time in my life. You know, um, I'm living on a pretty high vibe right now, but that that shifting
Mhm.
from, you know, sort of normal consciousness of like, I don't know. I grew up in Los Alamos, is a very scientific community. I was always more inclined to the arts and music and stuff, and didn't really fit in with all of that. And you know, this community, you know, had this very like reductionist approach to life, and that, you know, everything is just sort of Cartesian, mechanistic, you
Mhm.
know, and just finding all these juicy threads of that were just seem so vibrant and vital, you know, from from the ancients,
Mhm.
from all over the earth, you know, and you start to see how they all fit together, how they're all the same in essence.
Mhm.
You know, truths are are you know, they cross cultures, they cross languages and races, all of that. It's just the truth of our internal world, and the truth of the natural world, and interbeing,
Mhm.
you know. Um,
Wow. Well, so do you feel like on some level, I'd love to hear your opinion when it comes to, you know, there's a saying like, the smart man learns from their own mistakes, but the wise man learns from the mistakes of others.
mhm.
Like, have you ever heard of that? So you've heard of this?
Yeah,
So
yes, I have.
so
Mhm.
when it comes to like communicating or having conversations with like the people who have transitioned, you know, the ancient ones who have kind of gone on, or they've left things for us, do you feel like, you know, there's something to be said about learning from other people's experiences that you can't necessarily draw from your own? I'd just love to hear your opinion on that.
Well, yeah, I feel like it's like a teacher in
Hmm.
anything. I mean, you probably know from the experience with Ellie Tom, or your experience with music. I mean, I think everyone knows this. You know, you can fumble through and learn stuff. There's like, for instance, there's this guitarist, Joe Paz. Never had a teacher. He just got on the guitar and just started fiddling with it. And he just loved it and fiddled with it so much, he became virtuosic, you know. But I wonder, like, what that beginning was like, and if there was frustrations he went through, and, you know, all this stuff. Whereas when you have a teacher who's already been through the pitfalls, knows the way, you know, to get beyond them, knows a more efficient way, or a more practical way, or a more effective way of doing something, then you quantum, you know, you move through that learning in a quantum fashion. You just like jump through it.
Okay.
Whereas, you know, we can come across it on our own, but it's going to be more of a struggle. It's probably going to take you more time, you know. And you know, even like Buddha says, you know, just like any great person. He's like, I'm just like riding on the shoulders of
Mhm.
giants, you know, these other people that came before me who did these, you know, things and you know, study, you know, plumbed this space this of knowledge and uh, the practical, you know, application of it, you know.
Absolutely. So you have a further view. You can see a broader horizon. Your view is expanded, and you're able to see further because you stand on the shoulders of giants. You know. So who has been a giant in your life, a mentor in your life, or a guide in your life? Someone that you feel was a quantum leap for you. Like there was a Jesse before, and then there was more to explore, and then you met this mentor. And then there was a Jesse after that. That was a quantum leap Jesse, you know?
I'm grateful to say I've had many. Every step along the way, I've had someone that I can lean on, and they just there's an old alchemical saying: when the student is ready, the master will appear. You know, and that's been the experience I've had. Is like when I was ready, when I really wanted it, and I was ready to move and do the practice and do it. You know, someone showed up, and that happened for me with music, with my band teacher in high school, Pam Towery. We all called her mom because she was like a mother to us, you know. And she like took us from mediocre
Mm,
to great. Like we were better than our drum line, you know, we competed. We were better than all the other schools. We were better than the university, you know, because she had this knowledge that was really advanced and she just knew how to take us there.
mm,
You know, it's the same thing with herbalism. I've had the same experience with that where I got into it. I started watching from watching David Wolf years ago, you know, and getting into raw food, but he was into superfoods and herbs.
mm,
And that just led me to another teacher. And then I, you know, found another teacher, you know, and it's this thing with healing and learning or with, I've also had that with business. My friend Brandon Oshodin, sending vibes out to you. He helped me because I've been an entrepreneur for years, but I didn't know anything about marketing. I thought I was bad at it. I just, you know, I knew that I wanted to run my own business and do my own thing. And we struggled and struggled, you know, but he taught me, and I had this idea in my mind
mm,
about money, you
mm,
know, that money was, you know, a source of greed and the root of all evil, and that you know, you become less spiritual if you're focusing on the material. And, you know, he shattered all those things for me,
mm.
you know, and helped me realize that it's one of the best ways in this age to create a positive impact because it's just an energy current. It's a way in which you use it. It's your motivation that matters more
Yeah.
than
How
the
did it
thing.
help you realize that?
A few books, you know, the way he would train and talk. This was with our superfood company,
Hmm.
Purium. We do these trainings, and he would talk about like if you want to be valuable, add value to the world. You know, it's this whole thing of like manifestation.
Hmm.
You know, where if you're miserly and you're holding on to your stuff and you don't want to share your knowledge or your information, your money or whatever, then that's what you're vibrating, and that's what you're going to attract. If
Mm.
you're generous and you're giving and you're seeking to help,
Mm.
then that's what the universe is going to reflect to you is generosity, helpfulness, things just showing up.
Absolutely.
You know? And he showed me what's um, the science of getting rich.
Mm. Was that wallet bottles?
Yes, and the whole thing of you know um, that it's kind of it's it helped change my mind to money can be something you use philanthropically.
Mm.
It's an energy that you have to have the responsibility and the sort of temperance to be able to, you know, a lot of the people who really make it wealthy, their lifestyle and their way doesn't change. They just funnel this energy and money to help other people and grow things. That's not everybody. There's definitely like the Rockefellers and people out there who had this miserly kind of thing and were still able to create money, you know, because that was their focus. It was like to help themselves, you know. Um, and I love this thing from the law of one, where if you help just yourself, you can crawl yourself up to higher vibrations. But if you seek to cultivate the all and help other people, it's like the tide that lifts, the all. Like you come up more easily because you're all rising up together, you know. So, anyway, so Brandon helped me with a lot of that. Ellie Tom, with the Breatharian practice, and Ray Mayor, and Jazz Muheen, and all these people who came before our sort of a vintage, who went through the struggle. Like Jazz Muheen had a terrible time because someone took her advice and they died, and they, there was all these allegations poured at her, and she got caught eating and all this stuff, and that kind of helped to start to break up, where you and I are now. We know that it's okay to like go. It's about food freedom. You move to the breatharian state. That doesn't mean you have to stay away from food forever, or else like you go to hell or something. It's that you don't need to eat, but if you choose to, you can. And that it's really about joy and creating benefit and health for yourself and other beings, and not about the end product of not needing food.
Yeah.
And
Hmm?
and the process of that, and the joyfulness of the process of meditating and qigong and fasting, and the way it makes you feel just to do those things.
Yeah. The feeling state for sure, and that progress, like they say, progress, not perfection, but like progression. Because, even Alexis here is saying that she's talking about you. She's saying Jesse is for sure a light. He has led me to many rivers to drink from. He led me to you, Jerome. I'm very grateful for you both. So she's saying that you've been a mentor in her life, or you've been a guide or a way shower in her life, a light bringer, a lighthouse, a beacon for her to kind of, weather the storm, So I
Mm-hmm.
love that. I love that. So yeah,
I'm,
do you, go ahead.
I was just say I'm humbled and honored just to be able to pass this light around. I feel blessed just to be able to share this knowledge. That human health and happiness is something that can be free. It just takes the discipline.
Yeah. Yeah. So with all these mentors, with all these guides, with all these way showers and teachers that you have found in your journey, do you feel there's such thing as a self-made man? Is that possible?
No, not at all.
That's not possible?
No, I don't think so. I mean, just think about it. Like every person, you're born of two parents. You know, your parents, even if they were bad parents, and were awful to you, they probably, it was their contribution of their genes. They still probably gave you some food, and a place to live, at least at some point, for a while. Some people have been abandoned by their parents, but even then, some other people stepped in and took responsibility, you know, and cared, and there is an aspect to being a self-made man. It's that whole thing of all truths are half truths,
Mm.
right? Um, so you can create yourself with your intention and your discipline and your focus, but we are interconnected with all of life, and all beings. We couldn't even be here if it weren't for mosquitoes and things that we loathe. Other beings in this plane, that are vital part of the balance, in the ecology. You 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 couldn't be here without the light of the sun, without the air, without the earth, and the food of the earth, and the energy, of prana and chi that is raining down from heaven and coming up from the earth and emanating from your own heart. So not to mention like the mentors, the friends who gave you, support when you were down, or you know there there's no self-made man. Everyone is in Buddhism they call it codependent origination. You know, that we are in interdependence with one another, and we can't create ourselves without each other. There is no person on the planet that ever was that, you know, didn't have parents, didn't have any friends that helped them, didn't eat, didn't get in the sun or breathe air, or, you know, like it's all part of a mutually supportive process.
Okay. So can you say that word again? You said codependent origination?
Yeah. Or it's, you know, the translation is kind of weird because it comes from Sanskrit. So there's dependent co-origination or codependent origination, but it's tomato tomato
Ah,
kind of.
okay.
Yeah.
Codependent origination. That is interesting. You know, so it's like no man is an island, as it were. Like
Mhm.
we all, you know, we have the codependent origination vibration. It's always, you know, through the congregation. Like there is a collective tethering for you, your development. It's always tied with everyone else. Like no one is just all to themselves.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes
Yeah. I couldn't be where I am with my breatharian practice if it hadn't been the leadership of Eli
mm,
Tom, because I had in my mind, you know, this mental thought form of, I don't, you know, I wanted to become a breatharian, but I couldn't find way to break off from the family, you know, because I needed to feel like I was supporting them and making money, and spend $2,000 in a couple weeks to go to initiation process,
mm,
you know. And when
mm,
I first got on this road, that was the only way. And Eli Tom was like, you know, I remember one of the videos I saw of his was Breatharianism for the common man, you know,
mm.
and that this doesn't have to be, you know, this really shouldn't be, in my view, something of
Right,
elitism. You know what I
right.
mean? That this is something that is accessible to everyone. This is something that's the divine, um, you know, commons of humanity, that we should be in natural health and freedom.
Mm,
In some of the Hopi and Navajo ideas about the Diné, they talk about every being deserves confidence, joy, and
mm.
peace. You know, and that's, to me, that's what a lot of this lifestyle is
Yeah,
about.
yeah. Confidence, joy, and peace. Yeah, I like that because when you said, you know, that there was a period of your process where you were trying to become a breatharian and you wanted to become a breatharian, when did you go from that becoming to now embracing like everyone is a breatharian? You know, where, where did you go from there to there?
Well, I think it was kind of somewhere in this last year, really. You know, I really had my sights set on level 4 full breatharian, you know, and I still do. I think, you know, one of the benefits of it is that then you're freed up completely from this whole thing about, you know, having to make money to eat, or, you know, I even, you know, I love doing permaculture and growing things and all that stuff, but even to have to, you know, exert so much energy, you know, just to eat, and the way we eat mostly for emotions, you know, that's what I'm finding through the process, you know, and just, it's something that I've always known, that this is something for everyone, that everyone can have access to. But I think partly it's shifting cosmically, and it's shifting within me also. Of, at first, I think a lot of people get into this lifestyle from, like Shana was saying yesterday, from a place of like spiritual egoism. You know, like they want to be this great yogi or this great, you know, spiritual master. And there's nothing wrong with that motivation, you know, as long as you can direct that benefit to more than just yourself. If it's just cherishing yourself and your own, you know, aggrandizement, then there becomes like a spiritual, you become kind of spiritually constipated, in a way of speaking. You know, you can't get past certain levels of well-being because you're so focused on you and how well you're doing, you know, your process. And it's so much, I've always just enjoyed people and loved people and nature, and I love talking with Shayna yesterday because the way she described her sense of oneness was so beautiful and so close to what I feel about it. Like I just want to have fun with all the people here, and get past all this difficulty and anger and trauma and war and resentments and stuff. And so this path to me is the relinquishment of all that and connecting back in with humanity. And I want to do this with this. I want to bring as many people with me as possible on this high vibe. I don't want to go be there by myself. I would. They say it's good not to be the first and good not to be the last.
Yeah. So with bringing, more people with you, like bringing people with you on this journey, do you feel that it's within you? Do you feel it's like a calling, or do you feel mission? What do you feel when you listen to that? Yeah.
Both, definitely. I
Okay.
feel like that's my calling from the time I remember having dreams when I was really young about being really long lived and really happy, and my all of my experiences kind of, I'm a triple Aries, so it's very easy to focus on myself and happiness, but that's what I've found is that just has limitations, and that really the happiness we have to enjoy everybody in this quest. And it stems also into my, affinity for Buddhism, because there's that within it where it's, the motivation is to create benefit for all beings. So
Mm.
that yourself and everyone else, every being, not excluding anyone. If one is excluded in this interdependent co-origination, then you're excluding part of yourself, and you can't actually get to these levels of happiness and joy and peace. You know,
Yeah.
um,
I remember hearing all those mantras, like even when I was doing, Vipassana, and even when I was in these meditation retreats, they would have these mantras like may all beings, be happy, joyful and free and peaceful, like may all beings, may all beings. It was always may all beings, you know?
mhm,
And
mhm,
that was a very freeing affirmation to hear that over and over, the recitation of that affirmation, all beings, all beings,
mhm,
Yeah.
mhm. It's good reminder, because I think it's a challenge of every human, because we all want peace, we all want joy and freedom, and so, and we're focusing just on the joy of and freedom of this one,
Hmm.
but then you find yourself caught, you find yourself trapped in that, you know, and that the antidote is to help other beings, and they've proven this actually scientifically, that you get the same or more benefit in terms of like brain health, dopamine, etc., by helping someone else than you as you do helping yourself. You know, so if you're feeling low, practice helping someone else. You
Mm.
know,
Wow. Wow.
and being generous. Like the Buddhists have this whole thing of the 8 worldly concerns that keep us trapped in
Mm.
samsara, and that's uh, pain and pleasure, gain and loss, praise and blame,
Mm.
and your reputation. You know,
Mm. Mm. Okay. Then that keeps us in samsara, you said?
yeah, that keeps you locked in a cycle of suffering.
How do you feel praise? I like that you said praise was one of those on the list. How does praise keep you locked in a cycle of suffering?
Because if your happiness is contingent on praise from others, then you're not really free, right? You gotta get that praise to feel happy.
Hmm.
You know, if you can accept praise, but you know, not really stay in equilibrium. Some people get praise and they're like, oh, well, you know, um, or if they get blamed, they're like, oh, people are gonna blame you for stuff. People are gonna praise you for stuff.
Hmm.
Are you gonna let it affect the continuity of your well-being? You know,
Did
um,
did you ever feel locked in that cycle? Like when it came to the practice of you know, being balanced or being equanimous when it came to blame and when it came to praise?
Yeah, definitely. I would say more that I subject myself to social media. You know, it's the whole thing seems to be built around praise and blame and gain and loss and reputation, all these things, you know, pain and pleasure. You see people putting up posts and you never see them suffering, you know, or just like scraggly brushing their teeth or, you know, the normal things of life. You see them like poised on a rock, you know, doing like a, you know, pose, you know, and, or, you know, they're trying to accelerate their business or their, you know, what have you. And, you know, I'm here partly, largely for myself and to try to be of service, but definitely my business is tied in with it, you know. And so it's actually a really amazing uh, tool to start to practice this at at another level where, you know, you're not going to be afraid of rejection. You know, people are going to praise you and say, oh, you're wonderful, perfect person, so grateful for you. And you kind of get a little like tickle of joy, you know, and then someone else hates on you, like, you're ridiculous, you stupid, you know, hippie, like, and you go, oh, you know, um, and there's a path in Buddhism of realization where you just put yourself through this kind of thing, and eventually you become more and more immune to it because you see that you're not, it's not benefiting you. There's a difference. The Buddhists place more emphasis on merit and benefit than they do on karma and happiness. You know, because karma is like the bank. Like, you do nice things, and then, you know, the universe will, you know, pay you back in the same. You know, but it's just like the bank. Like, you put money in, and then you take it out, and the balance goes down. You know.
So you say that it's a Buddhist practice or a principle to intentionally put yourself into these situations?
Yeah, and to try to develop merit, to try to think about benefiting other beings. That's where, you know, your merit grows, is more in helping others. Like, at the end of this life, you know, because we're all going to die at some point. Um, are you going? And I think we can live long lives, or, you know, and there's ways to sort of like, you know, immortality in a way. But when this life is over, are you going to be like, oh, I wish I would have worked more and earned more money and, like, you know, stressed out a little more? Or are you going to, you know, feel like, man, I wish I helped those people. I had that opportunity to help those people that one time and I didn't, you know? Or did you do it? And you're like, I sure am glad, you know, that I lived to my fullest. I helped everybody I could, you know, I had as much fun as I could, you know. Those are going to be the things that matter more, you know, when we come to the end. What's more meaningful, and what, you know, it's like we've talked about before, it's about, you know, habits. So we habituate. We have as infinite beings with infinite karma, we have infinite negative karma and infinite positive karma. And we can have something in this life that triggers one or the other. So, you know, maybe there's that friend you have that you just love hanging out with, but he always gets you in trouble. You always end up doing the thing you're not supposed to do with that kid, you know. Or there's the one that, like, you know, is always good, you know, kind to people, helpful, you know, and you just get a good vibe around it, and it kind of lifts you up, you know. And those are triggers, and we can habituate to this, you know, creation of merit.
Yeah.
To being warm-hearted, to practice being warm-hearted. That's something that if we practice enough over lifetimes, that it becomes the complete picture of what we are. They say a Buddha is someone who's gone through, I forget how many thousands of eons practicing that their whole life, you know, and then they become fully realized being, you know, that it's like impossible for them because of eons and eons of practice of being warm-hearted and kind and loving and compassionate, you know,
Wow. Wow.
that that's just their natural state. This habit energy goes on beyond this life, you know.
That's powerful. That's powerful. You know, when you're talking about the things that we habituate and the merit that develops and grows and grows and grows. And, you know, even when you're talking about the things that people might regret, like the words they didn't say, the people they didn't help, the people they didn't lift or they didn't empower when they had the chance in that moment, and they reflect when they connect the dots and look back. What was something in your life that you felt, you know, coming up that you never wanted to regret? Like you never wanted to say that you did or you didn't do something. What did you never want to regret in your life?
Oh man, there's so many things because I saw my father working with a lot of regret,
Hmm.
you know, and he would tell me, I regret I didn't do this. I regret, you know, even if it was like activity, something that he loved, that he just, you know, pushed himself into this position of being, you know, provider and protector, and that he had to get this job and secure it and do what he needed to do instead of what his heart really wanted, you know. Um, and One of the things for me, because my dad, when I was a kid, I thought of him as God. You know, I just really felt his. He had a very loving energy, and he was very intelligent. But he was a nuclear engineer. He built nuclear weapons for for his business. You know, and he had like a midlife crisis at a certain point about that.
Like
You
like
know, and
Op-
he, what's that?
like Oppenheimer?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's literally the town I grew up in was where the atomic bomb was birthed by Oppenheimer.
Wow. Wow.
And my dad was a nuclear engineer. And at a certain point, I think his karma kind of caught up with him because he started having all kinds of physical problems. And he wanted to use his knowledge. He originally got into nuclear energy because he wanted to solve the energy crisis, you know, with something that was renewable and clean. And, you know, um, now we know differently about nuclear energy, you know, and that splitting atoms is one of the, it's like tearing apart the fabric of creation, you know. It's totally terrible karma, you know. And so, um, but at any rate, I wanted to emulate the way he he though he did these things, he had such a loving warmness towards me, you know. And but he also had uh, um, he split from my mom, and my mom got custody. My mom is very warm-hearted, wonderful. She's a bodhisattva. I'm super grateful for my mom. But he kind of separated himself physically and emotionally from him because I realize now he had damage with his dad because his dad was awful to him, you know, and he didn't want to purvey that to me because he truly loved me. But I translated that as a young person to like this, you know, where's my dad, you know, in my life. And so that was something, becoming a father, I made a very strong commitment to my kids that I was going to be there in every way I could throughout their life, you know. And then there's ways in which, because I didn't have that example, you know, as fully as it could have been, that I felt like I had failings as a father. I saw them in myself. With times when I got angry, times when I was trying to control, you know, times, you know, out of a loving place, but not ultimately the most loving way, you know, or the loving speech, you know. And that's something I'm trying very hard, you know, to do in this life is, you know, be mindful of my body, mind, and speech. That's part of the Buddhist, you know, that's what you cultivate towards Buddhism is your body, your mind, and speech. So Breatharianism is kind of the body end of things, you know, but you can't neglect your mind and your speech on this path of Breatharianism or just, you know, actualization,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah, I think you taught me about the speech part. You were saying something like, is it true? Is it kind? Is it righteous? Is it necessary? You know, like not to say something if it isn't one of those things. you know? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's tricky. Like I just heard this really great quote from this Rasta grandma talking to her kid. It was on like a reggae video, and she says, "God gave you two ears and one mouth, so you should listen twice as much as you speak." And, and
Yeah.
to listen to people is a medicine. That's what people. A lot of what therapy is just someone that you know that you can, as a safe space that you can just speak your heart in truth. You know.
Absolutely.
In total realness, you know.
I agree. I agree. I've been lucky to have those people in my life that listened to me, and I was able to pour out myself in that way, and I was able to come to a lot of conclusions, a lot of solutions, a lot of realizations through the conversation. Because even as you were saying, that because your father is who your father was, he completely changed who you have become as a father. You know, you've changed who you are as a father by having the father you had. You know, so it's like it sounds like it's changed everything, and even witnessing. I can only imagine, Jesse, the way you described it, like with the splitting of the atoms and the nuclear energy and the karma, to witness the weight of the consequences, the just the weight of the choices on your father's shoulders. I can only imagine what it affected you or how it impacted you to witness that, witnessing, hearing that.
Man, and you are such a wonderful person, Jerome. I just got to say, the way the way that you look at things, you look at you really put yourself in other people's shoes. You know, you're really living that. Can I help myself and other beings? Philosophy that I'm talking about, and not just philosophy with you. You're doing it. And I really appreciate. Just want to say that. I appreciate I see that you do that with everyone you talk to here, as you really try to, you know, see what they're going through, and you know, and ways in which you may be able to help them, even if it's just them connecting with the truth of their experience. You know, so cheers to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Just I feel like I'm just doing my part,
Yeah,
I feel, just like it circles back to what you were saying in the beginning about the calling, the mission, bringing people with you. I feel like this is definitely purposeful for me in a lot of ways. So I thank you for mentioning that.
yeah, you feel that too.
Hmm.
Yes, yes. Beautiful, beautiful, as I love to. Full Buddha. And
Yes.
that's the thing, is we're all full Buddhas. That's something in the philosophy of Buddhism, is all beings are
Hmm.
precious. We love to, there's lots of people out there that are doing things that I really disagree with and think is really, really low. But those beings are still precious beings. They're still life. There's still golden energy, and that our true nature. That's the thing in Buddhism they talk about. Um, uh, is the jewel in the heart of the lotus. That deep inside of everyone is a Buddha, and that is just your awakened, compassionate, authentic self. You know, without all of the obscurations of you know uh, enculturation and environment and karmas and stuff that you know muddy our connection with this beautiful divine light within us, that always knows it's always supported, it's always peaceful, always radiating compassion and love. That is the true nature of what we are as humans. And we just got to kind of grow it back. We got to put more a focus on it. And I feel like if we do that, the rest will come together. Someone had a comment here. They said, how do we get out of agony, the agony that comes from not seeing joy and wealth reflected upon the ones you wish to bring up with you? And that's the thing of this not paying attention. It's not that you don't pay attention, but you just try to find the equilibrium between these eight worldly concerns
Hmm.
of you know and I've totally dealt with that. The choice I made to be a permaculturalist and an herbalist, you know because I needed this path. And Breatharian and Yogi, you know, we've lived, we live a very rich life, and that we have connection with in our family, that we, you know, live on the land, that we've connected with nature, you know. But my kids did not have the kind of monetary um, support to do a lot of things they wanted when they were like, you know, we lived out in the country. My oldest son wanted to play baseball. You know, it was an hour, you know, to town for baseball practice that starts at 6 in the morning. You know, and I got to work all day in a garden in the town another hour away. You know, and it, you know, there was things in which it just hurt my heart to not be able to like create that, you know, for my kids. But eventually, you know, I just came to rest with, I just need to do this for myself. And my kids and my family started to acknowledge that about me and understand that about me and forgive me, you know, me for my choices. Because I wanted to bring them all into raw foodism and breatharianism and living on the land, you know, in cob buildings and food forests, you know. But that was my vision. That wasn't their vision, you know. And so to see, you know, the ones that you want to bring up with you, and you want to take them along with you, but you have to realize that you know, first you have, and they talk about this in Buddhism too, it's the same thing with being a healer or a teacher or leader. You have to go through it yourself. You have to grow into it through your process. And when you've developed enough loving kindness towards yourself and true acceptance and appreciation of you yourself and authenticity, it's hard for you to actually do that for someone else. You can't appreciate someone and their authenticity because you're projecting and trying to get some experience out of them. Like if you really got it, I know I had this thing with my wife. I really wanted her to eat raw food with me and do this whole thing. And, you know, that was not the path for her. That just made things worse in our relationship. It made more pain. Me clinging to bringing her with me brought more pain than if I just accepted, you know, from the beginning that this is what she wanted. Okay. So that place of acceptance, just accepting that things are as they are, is how you get, to answer your question, how to get out of the agony that comes from, you know, not seeing the joy and wealth and the prosperity and the things you want to like bring other people into. And as you develop that, you can start also developing yourself and your ability to bring that into the world. And then you can do that. It might not be the same people at the same time that you had hoped and planned, but you can still put that into the world. You can still, you know, like I have these dreams of huge tree planting programs, or making super fun sites into like permaculture tiny house villages with cob buildings and food forests and a livelihood for the people there, you know, and healthy food and a healthy place, you know. But without the feria, you know, it's hard to create that, you know. Just with a good intention is not enough, you know.
I see.
So
I see. Well, thank you for that answer. You know, thank you for answering that question, you know, so eloquently. Yeah, they said, I appreciate you. Yeah, amazing individuals. Thank you for all that you do. Much love. Thank you. Thank you for joining. Thank you for listening. And, you know, Jesse, always thank you. Thank you, brother. This is always yes. And I agree, you know, I agree. This is why we're here.
yeah. Well, I love you, brother, and I look forward to getting together and belly to belly and jamming with you again.
Yeah.
Sometime and giving your big tall ass a hug.
Yeah. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
All right. Well, thanks for spending your time with me today, and thank you everyone for joining. Hope you got something from this, and sending you all so much love.
Absolutely. Much love. Much love. Take care.
Peace.